The crimson nebula stretched like a bleeding wound across the black canvas of space. Kai Park leaned forward in his engineering station, his fingers dancing across holographic displays that flickered with streams of data. The salvage vessel, Horizon Breaker, moved slowly, its massive hull creaking with the subtle stresses of deep space exploration. Outside the reinforced viewing window, nothing but darkness and swirling crimson clouds greeted the ship's crew. Most would have found the view haunting, but Kai saw beauty in the chaos. He had been a deep space engineer for 12 years, and each mission was another chance to solve a puzzle that most people would never understand. A sharp beep interrupted his thoughts. Kai's eyes narrowed as an unusual reading appeared on his secondary screen. Most salvage crews would have ignored the faint signal. It was barely a whisper in the vast electromagnetic noise of the nebula. But Kai was not most engineers. "Captain Rodriguez," he called out, his voice steady but excited. "I'm picking up an anomalous energy signature about 0.3 parsecs from our current position." Captain Elena Rodriguez turned from the main navigation console. She was a veteran of 100 deep space missions, with skin weathered by solar radiation and eyes that had seen more strange things than most people could imagine. "Show me," she said simply. Kai expanded the holographic display. The signal was weak, almost dying, but it pulsed with a rhythm that suggested something was alive. Not just alive, but struggling. The energy pattern was unlike anything in the standard xenobiology databases. "It's coming from what appears to be a derelict craft," Kai explained, zooming in the display. "The vessel's structural integrity is critically compromised. Multiple hull breaches, power systems failing, life support barely functional." Rodriguez studied the image. Most captains would have dismissed the find. Salvage was about efficiency, and this looked like nothing more than a dying ship in the middle of nowhere. But something in Kai's voice made her pause. "Estimated time before total structural collapse?" she asked. Kai's fingers flew across the holographic interface. Calculations, simulations, predictive models, all spinning in complex three-dimensional projections around him. "Approximately 47 standard minutes. Maybe less if the nebula's radiation continues to destabilize its remaining power grid." The ship's medical officer, Dr. Yoon Park, no relation to Kai, moved closer to the display. "Are you detecting any life signs?" Her voice carried a mix of professional detachment and genuine curiosity. "Barely," Kai responded. "But there's something strange. The bioratings don't match any known species profile in our database. It's like the life form is both technological and biological. Hybrid, maybe, or something completely new." Captain Rodriguez made her decision in less than 3 seconds. "Prep the emergency extraction module," she commanded. "Kai, you'll lead the rescue team." Kai's heart raced. Rescue missions in the Crimson Nebula were notoriously dangerous. The region was known for electromagnetic storms that could fry electronic systems in milliseconds and radiation levels that could kill an unprotected human within minutes. As the Horizon Breaker adjusted its trajectory, Kai began suiting up. His specialized environmental suit wasn't just protection. It was a mobile engineering station. Sensors woven into the fabric could analyze molecular structures, detect radiation levels, and provide real-time structural stability assessments. The ship's extraction module detached with a soft hum. Kai watched the derelict alien craft grow larger in his view screen. Its hull was a nightmare of twisted metal and strange geometric patterns, nothing like the clean lines of human spacecraft. Something had happened here, something violent, something mysterious. "Approaching target," he reported. "Structural scans initiating." Preparing for manual entry. Little did Kai know that this routine salvage mission was about to change everything he understood about life, technology, and the vast, mysterious universe that stretched endlessly around him. The extraction module's cutting laser worked slowly through the alien ship's hull. Kai's breathing echoed inside his helmet as tiny fragments of metal drifted around him like strange snowflakes. Every movement was careful. One wrong cut could cause a total structural collapse. Structural integrity at 22%, his suit's computer warned. The voice was calm, almost bored, despite the extreme danger. Kai pushed forward through a twisted corridor. The walls were not made of metal or any material he recognized. They seemed to pulse with a strange, almost living quality, as if the ship itself was breathing. Soft blue-green lights flickered in random patterns, creating shadows that moved in ways shadows should not move. His handheld scanner beeped suddenly. The life sign was close. Very close. The corridor opened into a massive chamber. At first, Kai thought the room was empty. Then he saw her, the massive white form chained to the center of the room. As his helmet lights swept across the space, details emerged that made his breath catch. It was a dragon, but not like any dragon from human myths or imagination. Her scales were pure white, almost translucent. They seemed to catch and reflect light in impossible ways. Each scale looked like it was made of something between crystal and living tissue. Massive chains, not metal, but something that looked like hardened energy, wrapped around her body. She was huge, at least 30 meters long from nose to tail. Her body was curled protectively around her own midsection, and then Kai realized why. She was pregnant. The chains were not just physical restraints. They pulsed with complex energy patterns. Kai's engineering scanner went crazy, trying to decode the technology. These were not simple metal bindings. They were advanced containment systems that seemed designed to suppress not just movement, but some kind of internal power. Her eyes opened. They were silver. Not the silver of metal, but the silver of living mercury. Intelligence blazed in those eyes. Intelligence that was absolutely alien, yet somehow familiar. She looked directly at Kai. Not around him. Not past him. Directly at him. "Help," a voice whispered in his mind. Not in words, exactly. More like a feeling that became words. Kai's hands moved almost automatically. His engineering tools began scanning the complex chain system. Each chain was a marvel of technology. They connected to the ship's power core, drawing energy to maintain their suppression field. "You're dying," Kai said out loud, knowing somehow she would understand. The ship was falling apart. The containment chamber was losing power. Soon, everything would be destroyed. The dragon's eyes showed no fear, only a deep ancient sadness, and something else. Determination. Kai's scanner showed more details. The chains were not just holding her. They were slowly killing her, draining her energy, preventing her from protecting her unborn child. Whatever she was, whatever species she belonged to, she had been imprisoned for a very long time. "Who did this to you?" Kai whispered. The response came not in words, but in a flood of images. Glimpses of star systems, massive space battles, creatures of pure energy, technological civilizations rising and falling. And always at the center, this white dragon and her kind, guardians of something important. The ship groaned around them. Metal twisted. Power systems failed. They had maybe minutes before total destruction. Kai knew he had to make a choice. Rescue was possible, but rescuing her would be complex. Her size alone made extraction difficult. The strange chains would need careful removal. And then there was her unborn child. "I'm going to get you out," Kai said. His voice was steady. His hands were already working on the first energy chain. The dragon watched him. For the first time since her imprisonment, something like hope entered her silver eyes. The first energy chain broke with a sound between a snap and a musical note. Kai's hands moved quickly, his engineering tools working like extensions of his own body. Sweat ran down his face inside the helmet. The ship around them continued to groan and shift, like a dying animal. The dragon watched him. Her silver eyes never left his hands. Each chain was different. Some required careful cutting. Others needed a specific frequency of energy to dissolve. Kai worked fast, but carefully. One wrong move could trap them both when the ship finally gave way. "Almost there," he muttered. The last chain was the most complex. It wrapped around the dragon's central body, pulsing with energy that made Kai's scanner go crazy. Numbers and symbols flickered across his display, none of them making complete sense. "What are you?" Kai whispered. The response came not in words, but in feelings. Memories. Glimpses of something vast and ancient. The dragon was more than just an animal. She was a guardian, a protector of something important. Another section of the ship collapsed somewhere far behind them. Time was running out. The final chain broke. For a moment, nothing happened. The dragon remained still. Kai held his breath. Then she moved. Her movement was not like anything Kai had expected. She did not simply stand up. Instead, she seemed to unfold. Her body changed shape slightly with each movement. The white scales shifted and moved in ways that defied normal biology. A voice entered Kai's mind. Not words exactly, more like feelings that became understanding. "Free," the feeling said. "Protect." Kai understood two things immediately. First, the dragon was talking about her unborn child. Second, something had been hunting her, something that wanted to stop her from completing her mission. "We need to leave," Kai said out loud. "This ship is going to break apart." The dragon's head moved. She looked at Kai. Her silver eyes seemed to look through him, not just at him. Kai felt like she was reading his entire life in a single moment. "Follow," the feeling voice said. The ship lurched. Massive sections of the hull began to break away. Radiation levels were climbing fast. Kai's suit began to warn him about increasing danger. The dragon moved first. Her body was huge, but she moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. She knew exactly where to go. Kai followed, his equipment scanning and mapping their route. They moved through corridors that should have been impossible to navigate. The dragon's body seemed to change slightly, making space where no space existed. Kai's brain struggled to understand what he was seeing. Another massive section of the ship broke away. They were running out of time. Just when Kai thought they were trapped, the dragon touched a wall. Something happened. A doorway appeared where no doorway had been before. Beyond it, Kai could see the extraction module. "Safety. How did you do that?" Kai asked. The feeling response was almost like a laugh. Complex. Ancient. Amused. They reached the extraction module just as the alien ship began its final collapse. Kai's hands moved quickly, sealing the module's doors. The dragon curled her body carefully, protecting her pregnant belly. As they detached from the dying ship, Kai realized nothing would ever be the same again. Whatever this creature was, whatever mission she was on, he was now part of something much bigger than a simple salvage operation. The crimson nebula swirled outside, red and mysterious. And somewhere in the darkness, something was watching. The extraction module felt tiny compared to the massive white dragon curled inside it. Kai watched his equipment carefully. Nothing about this rescue made sense. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through the communication system. "What exactly did you find out there, Kai?" Kai took a deep breath. How could he explain something he didn't understand himself? "A life form," he responded simply. "Definitely not from any known species database." The dragon's silver eyes watched him. Each time Kai looked at her, he felt like he was being studied more than he was studying her. Her pregnant belly moved slightly. Something inside was alive. Something important. Suddenly, the module's warning systems went crazy. Red lights flashed. Alarms screamed. "Incoming energy signature," the computer announced. "Unknown origin. Massive power levels." Kai's hands flew across the control panels. Something was tracking them. Something big. Something dangerous. The dragon moved for the first time since they had entered the module. Her body shifted. Not just physically, but somehow. More. The very air around her seemed to change. Kai felt a pressure building. Like something was about to happen. "We are being hunted." A feeling entered Kai's mind. Not words. Not exactly a voice. But an understanding that was deeper than language. Images flooded Kai's mind. glimpses of star systems, massive space battles, creatures made of pure energy, technological civilizations rising and falling, and always at the center of these images, creatures like this dragon, guardians of something important. What are you protecting? Kai asked out loud. The response came not in words, but in more images. A planet. But not just any planet. A world that was alive. A world that could think. A world that could change. A world that was important to the entire galaxy. Outside the module, space itself seemed to bend. A massive ship appeared. Its design was nothing like human technology. Nothing like the ship they had just escaped. This was something else. Something older. Something more dangerous. They want the child, the dragon's feeling voice said. Kai understood immediately. Whatever was growing inside her was more than just a baby. It was something that could change everything. The massive hunting ship began to charge its weapons. Kai could see the energy building. They had minutes, maybe less. Can you do something? Kai asked the dragon. Her silver eyes looked at him. For the first time, something like a smile entered those eyes. Not a human smile. Something older. Something more complex. The dragon's body began to change. Not physically, but in ways K's sensors could barely understand. Energy levels rose. The very fabric of space around the module began to shift. Hold tight, the feeling voice said. The hunting ship fired. But something happened that no one expected. The energy blast did not hit them. Instead, it seemed to bend, to twist, to change direction completely. Kai watched in total shock as the energy returned to its source. The hunting ship suddenly found its own weapon turned against it. How? Kai started to ask. But the dragon was already moving, preparing, protecting. Her unborn child moved inside her. Something was coming. Something important was about to happen. The crimson nebula swirled outside, red and mysterious. And they were running. Running from something that had been hunting them for a very long time. Kai realized one thing clearly. Nothing would ever be the same again. The Horizon Breaker Medical Bay was not designed for creatures like the White Dragon. Dr. Yoon Park stood back, her medical scanners working overtime. Nothing made sense. The dragon lay on a specially reinforced examination platform. Her massive body took up almost the entire room. Kai watched from the side, his engineering suit still partially on. No one knew exactly what to do. Her biology is impossible, Dr. Yoon muttered, looking at her scanner readings. These cell structures, they're not just alive. They're adaptive, changing, thinking. Kai understood what she meant. The dragon's body was more than just a living thing. It was a system, a complex, thinking system that could change and respond to threats. The dragon's silver eyes opened. They looked at Dr. Yoon, then at Kai. Healing, a feeling entered their minds. Not a voice, not words, but a clear understanding. Her pregnant belly moved. Something inside was alive. Something important. Captain Rodriguez entered the medical bay. Her face was hard. She had seen many strange things in space, but nothing like this. Talk to me, she said to Kai. What exactly did you bring onto my ship? Kai took a deep breath. A guardian, he said simply. Something that protects something important. The dragon's body began to change. Not physically, but in ways that made the medical scanners go crazy. Energy levels rose. The very air in the room seemed to change. Dr. Yoon checked her readings. Her body is rebuilding itself, she said in shock. Fixing damage from years of imprisonment. But it's more than healing. It's advancing. Images began to flood Kai's mind. Glimpses of star systems, massive space battles, technological civilizations rising and falling. And always at the center, creatures like this dragon, guardians of something important. What are you protecting? Kai asked out loud. The response came in waves of understanding. A planet, but not just any planet. A world that was alive. A world that could think. A world that could change. A world that was important to the entire galaxy. The dragon's unborn child moved inside her. Something was coming. Something big. They will come again, the feeling voice said. Not a warning. More like a fact. Captain Rodriguez looked at Kai. Who will come? Before Kai could answer, alarms began to sound. The ship's sensors were picking up something. Something big was approaching. Incoming energy signature, the computer announced. Unknown origin. Massive power levels. The dragon was not afraid. Her silver eyes showed something else. Preparation. Determination. Dr. Hume moved her scanner closer. The child, she said suddenly. It's not just alive. It's more. The dragon's body began to change again. Energy levels rose. The medical bay itself seemed to respond. Machines adjusted. Sensors recalibrated. Something was happening. We are connected now, the feeling voice said. Not just to Kai, but to everyone in the room. Captain Rodriguez felt it first. A connection. An understanding. This was more than just a rescue mission. This was the start of something big. The ship's sensors continued to track the incoming energy. Whatever was coming, they would be ready. Kai looked at the dragon. Her silver eyes looked back. In that moment, he knew nothing would ever be the same again. The horizon breaker moved through space, red and mysterious, and something important was coming. Space turned black, then red, then something else entirely. The massive alien warship appeared like a nightmare made of metal and light. Its shape was impossible. Angles that should not exist, curves that broke every rule of physics. Captain Rodriguez gripped the ship's main control station so hard her knuckles turned white. Incoming transmission, the ship's computer announced. No one moved. Everyone watched. The transmission was not like any communication they had seen before. It was not radio waves or light signals. It was something else. A wash of energy that filled the entire bridge with a feeling of pure threat. Kai stood next to the white dragon. Her body was different now. More solid. More powerful. Her silver eyes watched the approaching ship with something that was not fear. It was more like preparation. They want the child. The feeling voice entered everyone's mind. Dr. Hume checked her scanners. The readings made no sense. The approaching ship was generating energy levels that should not be possible. It could destroy entire star systems with a single pulse. Who are they? Captain Rodriguez asked. The dragon's response came in waves of understanding. Images flooded their minds. An ancient civilization. Hunters. Destroyers of worlds. They had been searching for something for thousands of years. And now they have found it. The hunters wanted to stop something from happening. Something big. Something that could change everything. Kai understood now. The dragon was not just a prisoner. She was a protector. Her unborn child was more than just a baby. It was a key to something important. The alien warship began to charge its weapons. The energy buildup was so massive that the sensors on the horizon breaker could barely measure it. We cannot fight, the dragon's feeling voice said. We must hide. We must protect. Kai looked at the captain. We need a plan, he said. The ship's emergency systems began to activate. Shields rose. Weapons prepared, but everyone knew these would be useless against what was coming. The dragon's body began to change, not physically, but in ways that made the ship's sensors go crazy. Energy levels rose. The very air around them seemed to shift. What are you doing? Dr. Hume asked. The dragon did not answer with words. Instead, the entire ship felt something. A change. A preparation. Outside, space itself seemed to bend. The hunter's warship was getting closer. Massive. Deadly. Impossible to escape. Kai felt the dragon's unborn child move. Something was coming. Something big was about to happen. The hunters had been searching for thousands of years. They had tracked the dragon across multiple star systems. They would not stop. They would never stop. Why are they hunting you? Kai asked. The response came in waves of memory. A world. A planet that was alive. A planet that could think. A planet that could change entire civilizations. The hunters wanted to stop this from happening. The warship fired its first warning shot. Space exploded with energy. The horizon breaker shook. Alarms screamed. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. The white dragon's silver eyes looked calm. Not afraid. Prepared. Hold tight, the feeling voice said. And then everything changed. Kai's hands moved faster than they had ever moved before. Computer screens flashed. Holographic displays spun complex patterns of energy and mathematical equations. He was doing something impossible. The white dragon watched him. Her silver eyes tracked every movement. "We need to hide," Kai muttered. "But not just hide. We need to become invisible." Dr. Yoon and Captain Rodriguez stood back. They had seen Kai work miracles before, but this was different. This was beyond anything they had ever witnessed. Kai was combining human engineering with something else, something the dragon was doing. Her body generated energy in ways no machine could understand, waves of power that changed the very fabric of space around them. "Adaptive shielding," Kai said out loud. "Not just blocking. Changing." The ship's systems began to shift. Sensors recalibrated. Energy patterns twisted. What was happening was not just technology. It was something between science and magic. The dragon's unborn child moved inside her. Something was helping. Something was working with Kai. Outside, the hunter's warship continued its approach. Massive. Deadly. Impossible to escape. Kai's display showed impossible readings. The ship was becoming something else. Not invisible exactly, but unreadable. Changing. Shifting between different states of existence. "How are you doing this?" Dr. Yoon asked. Kai did not answer. His hands continued to move. The dragon's energy flowed through the ship's systems, changing everything. Massive energy pulses from the hunter's ship passed around them. But something happened. The pulses did not just miss the horizon breaker. They changed direction. Bent. Twisted. "We are not just hiding," the dragon's feeling voice said. "We are becoming something else." Kai understood now. This was more than defense. This was transformation. The ship's outer hull began to change. Not physically, but in ways that broke every rule of physics. Sensors could not track them. Weapons could not lock on. Captain Rodriguez watched in shock. "What is happening?" she whispered. The dragon's silver eyes looked calm. Not afraid. Prepared. Kai's engineering systems showed something impossible. They were not just blocking the hunter's tracking. They were absorbing the energy, learning from it, changing because of it. "Adaptive technology," Kai said. "Living technology." The hunter's warship continued its approach, but something was wrong. Its own sensors could not understand what they were looking at. The horizon breaker was becoming something else. Not just a ship, but a living system, changing, adapting, surviving. Kai felt the dragon's unborn child reach out, not with hands, not with anything physical, but with something else, something that connected to the ship's systems. "We are ready," the feeling voice said. The hunter's warship fired again. Massive energy pulses that could destroy entire planets. But something happened that no one expected. The energy did not just miss them. It changed, twisted, became something else entirely. Kai looked at the dragon. Her silver eyes showed something new. Not just survival, but something more. Preparation. The horizon breaker moved through space, red and mysterious, changing, becoming something no one had ever seen before, and something big was coming. The medical bay became something else entirely. Not a room anymore, more like a living space that breathed and changed. The white dragon's body tensed. Her silver eyes glowed with an inner light that made everyone step back. Kai watched, knowing something big was happening. "It's time," Dr. Yoon said quietly. The birth was not like any birth anyone had ever seen. It was not just a baby being born. It was something more. Something that would change everything. The dragon's body moved, not with pain, but with purpose. Her scales shifted colors. Blue, green, silver, white. Each color meant something. Each movement was a message. Kai found himself helping. His hands moved automatically, not because he knew what to do, but because something was guiding him. The unborn child was more than just a living thing. It was a system, a complex, thinking system that could change entire worlds. Incoming, the ship's computer announced. The hunter's warship was getting closer. Massive, deadly, impossible to escape. But something was different now. The Horizon Breaker was not just a ship anymore. It was alive, changing, adapting. The dragon's body pulsed with energy. Dr. Yoon's scanners went crazy. Numbers and symbols flickered faster than human eyes could follow. "What is happening?" Captain Rodriguez asked. No one answered. Everyone was watching. The dragon's baby began to emerge, but not like a normal birth. This was more like a system booting up, a complex machine coming to life. Kai felt something touch his mind, not with hands, not with anything physical, but with something else, something that connected to everything. The baby opened its eyes. They were not like the mother's silver eyes. These were different. Colors that changed, patterns that moved, eyes that could see more than just light. "We are here," a feeling entered everyone's mind. The hunter's warship fired, massive energy pulses that could destroy entire planets. But something happened that no one expected. The energy did not just miss them. It changed, twisted, became something else entirely. The dragon's baby moved, not with a body, but with something else, something that could change space itself. Kai watched in total shock. The baby was not just alive. It was a system, a complex, thinking system that could change entire civilizations. "Protect," the feeling voice said. The medical bay became a battlefield, but not a normal battlefield, a place where technology and life became the same thing. The hunter's warship continued its approach, but something was wrong. Its own sensors could not understand what they were looking at. The dragon's baby reached out, not with hands, not with anything physical, but with something else, something that connected to everything. Space itself began to change. Angles twisted, colors shifted, reality bent. The hunter's warship found its own energy turned against it. Massive pulse weapons became useless. Complex tracking systems went dark. "How?" Captain Rodriguez started to ask. But the dragon's baby was already moving, preparing, protecting. Kai understood one thing clearly. Nothing would ever be the same again. The Horizon Breaker moved through space, red and mysterious, changing, becoming something no one had ever seen before. And something big was coming. Space became quiet, too quiet. The hunter's warship hung motionless, not destroyed, not damaged, simply stopped, like a computer that had been unplugged. Its massive hull reflected nothing. No light, no energy, nothing. Kai stood on the bridge of the Horizon Breaker. His hands shook slightly. What had just happened? The white dragon and her newborn child rested in the medical bay. But resting was not the right word. They were doing something else, something more complex. "What just happened?" Captain Rodriguez asked. No one answered immediately. The dragon's baby was not like anything they had ever seen. Its body changed colors. Blue, green, silver, white. Each color meant something. Each movement was a message. Dr. Yoon's medical scanner showed impossible readings. The baby was more than just alive. It was a system, a complex, thinking system that could change entire worlds. "We stopped them." A feeling entered everyone's mind. Kai understood now. The hunters had been searching for thousands of years. They had tracked the dragon across multiple star systems. But now something had changed. The dragon's baby reached out, not with hands, not with anything physical, but with something else, something that connected to everything. Space itself began to change. Angles twisted, colors shifted, reality bent. The hunter's warship remained motionless. Its complex tracking systems were dead. Its massive weapons were useless. How? Captain Rodriguez started to ask. But the answer was already happening. The dragon's baby was protecting something. Something important. Something that could change entire civilizations. Kai looked at the white dragon. Her silver eyes showed something new. Not just survival, but something more. Hope. The horizon breaker moved through space, red and mysterious, changing, becoming something no one had ever seen before. Communication systems lit up, but not normal communications, something else. Complex messages that moved between systems faster than light. "We are connected now," the feeling voice said. Images flooded their minds. A living planet, a world that could think, a world that could change entire star systems. The hunters had been trying to stop this from happening for thousands of years. But now, everything was different. The dragon's baby moved, not with a body, but with something else, something that could see more than just physical space. Dr. Yoon checked her scanners. "This is impossible," she whispered. But impossible was no longer a word that meant anything. Kai understood one thing clearly. Nothing would ever be the same again. The hunter's warship remained frozen, a monument to something they could not understand, could not fight, could not stop. "What happens now?" Captain Rodriguez asked. The dragon's feeling voice was calm, prepared. "We protect," it said. Space around them continued to change. Not violently, not suddenly, but slowly, carefully, like a system rebooting, like a complex machine coming to life. The horizon breaker was not just a ship anymore. It was something else, something between technology and life, something that could change everything. Kai looked out the window. Space looked different now. Colors were brighter. Patterns made more sense. Everything was connected. The dragon's baby reached out again, not with violence, not with threat, but with something else. Understanding. And somewhere, in the vast darkness of space, something new was beginning.